How did the Ottoman Empire treat non-Muslim refugees? And how does this compare with Christian Europe? And I want to share a passage from this remarkable book called The Ottomans, A Cultural Legacy by Diana Dark, who's been an honoured guest on Blogging Theology. On the back cover, there is this comment from a scholar. Exquisitely written and lavishly illustrated, this delightful book brings 6 centuries of Ottoman culture to life. Diana Dark constantly amazes the reader with fascinating facts and points of relevance between the Ottoman past and the present day. And that comment is from Eugene Rogan, Professor of Modern Middle East History at the University of Oxford. So, back to our subject, refugee policies in the Ottoman Empire, and contrasting that with Christian Europe. And I'm going to read a section from page 76 of this book, The Ottomans, A Cultural Legacy. Fascinating stuff, by the way, and it really is extraordinarily revealing about the different worldviews that are operation between the Muslim Ottoman Empire and the Christian European nations. She writes, in another remarkable difference with the Ottomans' approach to different communities, and therefore to their acceptance and welcome of refugees, the Europeans had a tendency to evict communities based on the perceived ethnic superiority of one group over another. The expulsion of religious minorities was a common feature of the European landscape from the late Middle Ages and was based on early European efforts to build nation-states with a shared ethno-religious background. Minorities who were deemed to be threatening to the dominant group, or religious communities that did not follow the established majority religion, were cast out. In other words, they were simply expelled from Christian Europe. The powerful medieval Pope Innocent III, who claimed supremacy over all Europe's kings, forbade Christians from living, working, or trading with Jews. The English expelled their Jews in 1291, the French in 1343, and many German states in the early 1400s. Renaissance Europe in the 16th century expelled thousands of Jews, not only from Spain and Portugal, but also from Italy, the Netherlands, and elsewhere. The Ottoman approach, by contrast, was based on the confident notion that Islam was indisputably the superior religion. The Ottomans' tolerance of Jewish and Christian communities followed religious tenets as laid down in the Quran, combined with a dose of pragmatic economic and political realism. Their strategy ensured Muslim dominance and made conversion to Islam politically and economically attractive. Interesting here, Diane doesn't mention, but there was no compulsion in religion. No one was forced to convert to Islam. It was just made very attractive, according to her. This was the main reason why so many Christian communities withered over the centuries in the Muslim lands on the eastern and southern shores of the Mediterranean, sometimes even to extinction. In the middle of the 15th century, a rabbi from Istanbul wrote to his Jewish brethren back in Spain. Of course, Spain was under Catholic rule then. Here in the land of the Turks, we have nothing to complain of. We possess great fortunes, much gold and silver are in our hands. We are not oppressed with heavy taxes, and our commerce is free and unhindered. Everything is cheap, and every one of us lives in peace and freedom. Here, the Jew is not compelled to wear a yellow star as a badge of shame, as is the case in most of Germany, where Even wealth and great fortune are a curse for a Jew, because he therewith arouses jealousy among the Christians, and they devise all kinds of slander against him to rob him of his gold. Arise, my brethren, gird up your loins, collect all your forces, and come to us." End quote. In 1492, the Spanish Sephardim, reviled by the Inquisition, were stripped of their wealth and possessions and banished from their homeland by Ferdinand and Isabella of Spain. This was the king and queen of Spain at that time, obviously Catholics. In all, about 100,000 of these Jewish refugees set sail for Istanbul, where Sultan Bayezid II had ordered that they be allowed unimpeded entry. The Jews in Istanbul were given more freedoms under the Ottomans than in other parts of Europe. As a result, from the 16th century onwards, the Ottoman Empire had the largest Jewish communities in the world, with Istanbul and Thessalonica their biggest centres. It was the same for the Greeks, who also enjoyed cultural and religious rights. Along with other non-Muslims, all the Sephardim had to do was to pay the poll tax, a sum that was lower than the tax obligations in Catholic Spain, and to pledge their allegiance to the Ottoman state. The Sultan is said to have mocked the Spanish monarch's lack of wisdom. He said, "You call Ferdinand a wise king who makes his land poor and ours rich." Indeed, anti-Semitism baffled the Ottomans. When occasional anti-Jewish riots did break out in Constantinople, they were invariably stirred up not by Muslims, but by Christians, who accused the Jews of ritual kidnapping, murder, and of eating Christian children. Jews enjoyed the protection of the Ottomans against Christian persecution to the end of the 19th century, and Jews remain the largest majority in Istanbul even today. Charitable giving was also an essential tenet of Ottoman statecraft. And here Diana mentions a truly tragic and epoch-making story, which is sadly not very widely known outside of Ireland, and she explains why. During the 1845 to 52 Irish potato famine, for instance, which saw 1 million dead and the mass exodus of 1 million more, the Ottoman Sultan declared that he was ready to send £10,000 to help Ireland's farmers. Now, £10,000 then was a huge fortune, absolutely unbelievable sum of money that the Ottoman Sultan wanted to give to the poor, starving Irish, who were Christian Catholics, by the way. Queen Victoria, the Queen of England, intervened, however, and asked that the Sultan send no more than £1,000. Why? Because she herself had only sent £2,000. He complied to spare her embarrassment, but in secret also sent 5 ships laden with food. So how did the English react to this? Because here we have a Muslim Sultan desperately trying to help fellow sons of Adam who are starving in Catholic Europe. What did the English do to this phenomenal act of charity? The English courts tried to block the shipment. But the food arrived and was delivered by the Ottoman sailors, nonetheless. So they got through in the end. But what a terrible story. Unbelievable. The story is the subject of an Irish-Turkish film recently called Famine, released in 2021, with profits donated to UNICEF. And that's the end of this quote that I'm going to read from this extraordinary book. As I say, The Ottomans, A Cultural Legacy by Diana Dark. It's just been published, only available in hardback. It's got some amazing reviews on the back cover. I do heartily recommend it. The last video I did was about the Ottoman reception of coffee, which was long before Europe discovered coffee for themselves. And here, obviously, we're talking about refugee policies in the Ottoman Empire, which were far more enlightened and civilized and welcoming than anything in Christian Europe. And this went on for centuries, by the way. And the treatment of the poor Irish is a great stain on the history of the British, unfortunately, or the English monarchy particularly. But anyway, that's another story. Until next time.